I'm Julie Poland. I grew up right here in York, Pennsylvania, in a big family, extended family that got together every Sunday night at Grandma's house. And that included lots of cousins, lots of aunts and uncles, lots of games, lots of laughter, cards, charades, you name it. We were into entertainment, we were into relationships and having fun. As I got older, I realized that I probably had a knack for leadership, given that my first grade teacher wrote that Julie is sometimes bossy on the playground on my report card for my mother one year. I still maintain that at the time, people wanted to do what it is I suggested that we did. I spent 10 years in financial services around a lot of tables that looked something like this. It was really formative for me as a career person that I was usually one of one or two women in the room, so I had to figure out how to stand up for myself, how to support my ideas, how to present the background so that people could accept it. We learned about the chess moves that had to be made within the bank, but also with the clients that I dealt with during part of my time when I was doing lending to small businesses. The tactical things that got the job done and the strategies created numbers, and I was analyzing those numbers for credits. But what I was known for at the bank was understanding the informal organization, the grapevine of communication, who you had to go to if you really needed to get a job done. It wasn't always the people with the biggest office or the biggest title. I got there through relationships. After those 10 years, I decided that I wanted to work with those businesses again, but I wanted to work with those businesses behind the scenes. I wanted to work with the owners who were taking the risks, who were setting out for big goals and help them get there. And I wanted to do that by working with their teams. How to show up became a really important piece of all of this. It would be presumptuous of me to say that I came in from off the street and had the answer to the questions that they had been struggling with for years, weeks, months, or whatever. So I decided I needed to master the art of asking questions, because the answers were usually right there in the company, hidden in plain view. The CEO was always, still is, my first client, figuring out what that person wants. And the goals are really widely ranging, from growing the company to wanting to have more time with family, to wanting to be able to go to work in the morning without a feeling of dread in the pit of his or her stomach. And then the next set of customers is the team. My job is to help them row that boat so that every person is pulling his or her weight. They're doing it in sync, they're headed toward the same direction, and they trust one another so that they can get out of a jam together if they find themselves in one. Probably the most fun is when I first meet a team. I do lots of diagnostics to identify behavioral style and their values and their decision-making styles, but the most fun part of it is doing the observation. Who are the friends? How does the communication work? What's the underground system that I had learned before? In every group, I found there are vacationers, learners, and prisoners. And they reveal themselves fairly quickly. So the job becomes, how do you engage those learners so they can be your early adopters, get those people off the fence that are on vacation, and if we can't get the prisoners with us, get them out of the organization. This represents storming. Storming happens every time. The only difference from company to company is the duration and the amplitude of the storming. It's a grieving process. People are used to what they're used to, even if it's not great. So I start to use some tools of the trade, some of which you haven't used since you were 6. Crayons, smelly markers, blocks, blindfolds even, Post-it notes, all to try and get people in a different state of mind so they can experience information from a different point of view. We also play games. My coach colleagues bust my chops all the time about Julie and her games, but I prefer to think of them as structured experiences. They're games with a point. If you do a really good job with all these exercises and experiential learning, people become a team. Another part of the process becomes providing structure so that people can go through steps. There are times when it calls for expansive thinking, where you're trying to increase the number of alternatives they're looking at, and other times where the job is to bring people together. Then as we start moving forward after planning, testing becomes important. We try stuff. We try stuff fast. The idea is to fail quickly, make a lot of decisions, fail quickly, and move forward. Unlike my old banking career, where sometimes we'd talk about things in the abstract and nobody got anything done. Metrics also become important because when a group is engaged in change, especially rapid change, they're so involved it's hard to see that they're making progress unless you apply some kind of metrics. They may not notice what's happening, but you can see trends over time that help them feel successful and then help them sustain their energy. Once they get there, you stop and you celebrate. You hand out awards, you have pizza. You might have inflatable palm trees and mugs with the blizzard of 1996 on them. You stop and say good job because that fuels people for the next challenge. No matter how big the edifice is that the organization is trying to build, it really is a matter of that ascending positive spiral of success building on success, learning experience building on learning experience, until you find yourself at a place you never imagined. The exciting thing about the work of coaching teams is that there is always a new mountain to climb. There is always a new vista to look at. There are always new things to learn, to appreciate, and best of all, I get to learn from them. Thank you.